So I have just finished university, and after 3 years, I've learnt a lot, and I've made a lot of mistakes. So what's the point of making mistakes if I have no one to share them with? So that's why I thought I'd give you 5 tips from someone who's just completed university. So without further ado, some of them will be practical, which will help you with your CV, and others will be to do with your personal experience during university, and one will be about how to do well. This thing which people don't do, which I'm going to tell you, shocks me. It's not difficult. It's not even hard to think of. I just can't believe that they don't do it. But I'll tell you anyway. Hopefully that'll help you do well because I got a first class degree in economics. But for now, these are the first 5 tips I'll give you. The first 2 tips, they're to do with your CV and they're actually both to do with societies. So, tip number one, join a career related society in your first year. Now, that might seem a bit simple, but in your first year, you literally have nothing on your CV. I had nothing on my CV, and joining a career society really helped. Specifically, within that society, I joined a team which is called the corporate finance team, and this was a team where I got weekly experience, like weekly insight into M&A, corporate finance. It was one of those things where you had to apply. So there were about 220 applicants and 20 people got selected and I was one of them. And when you have nothing on your CV, something like that does make a big difference. This isn't limited to people who do economics or finance. If you join anything practical that gives you a bit of hands-on experience, whether it be learning from people who are older, going through case studies or things like that, it can be invaluable when you literally have nothing on your CV. So I'd say do a bit of pre-research and look into what your university has to offer. A lot of universities have things like equity funds, so there will be something. How good it is depends, but something is better than nothing when you're starting off and trying to apply for spring weeks or things like that. Then my second tip would be find any society that you're kind of into. So this could be a sport that you're really good at, a social society, something like your ethnic group, a religious society, anything that you're genuinely interested in. Ideally, you should do this in your first year at the start of the year and just make a run for a society position straight away. Join the society with the intention of becoming on the committee in the next year because one of the best things that you can get from university is a leadership position on a society. It's really valuable. It shows you to be a really social person, someone who can work as part of a team, someone who can talk to people, organize things. I was never able to do this because I found it quite difficult to find the right society and I found it relatively late. But going into university, if you know this tip, I think it really will help you when you're looking for summer internships and graduate schemes. Being able to give examples of times you've had to deal with budgeting or managing a group. Uni society is perfect for any interview that you do. So be proactive and try to find a society that you think you can make a running for the leadership. It doesn't have to be the biggest society because you can fluff the numbers a little bit. Any event that you do will be worth hundreds of pounds. Let's say you do a charity event and only like 20 people come. That'll still be like £100 raised if it's like £5 per ticket and you sell things. And it's still good to put on your CV. My advice would be do some research. It's all on the internet, what societies your university has, and just make a run for any society position. To be able to do this successfully, you do have to spend a lot of time at your society because you'll be chosen by the people who currently are the committee. So for them to choose you, they'd probably prefer that they actually know who you are. Be committed to the society. If you don't go, it's pretty difficult to get positions. So that would be my advice. Choose a society, attend it frequently, and make a run for president or treasurer, social sec, health, anything. My third tip, now this is a personal one, but I 100% agree with it, and that is use university as an opportunity to learn to cook. Not everyone's going to be living out, but for those of you that are living out, learn to cook because you see those pictures of people with their struggle meals at uni. And struggle meals like that are a choice because food is expensive, chicken is expensive, but pasta isn't, rice isn't, oats aren't, chopped tomatoes aren't, onions aren't expensive. There are good foods that you can use to make good meals with. You don't have to have chicken breast with every single meal if you genuinely can't afford it. You have come to uni with some money. You are spending it on something, whether it be clubbing or going out. just make better decisions. If you come out of uni having lived out for 3 years and if you can't make your parents or your siblings 5 different nice meals after uni, you've missed out, and that is on you because you shouldn't be having struggle meals at uni. Yeah, you can have oven food, but we have TikTok with so many recipes that are so easy to follow. I'll put some pictures up of the things that I've made. They're not amazing, but they're not bad. Like, they're quite nice, and my parents do like when I make it. That should be your goal for uni. You've got 3 years. You should very, very comfortably be able to come back after uni with 5 good meals that you can make. Because cooking is a skill for life, and uni is the perfect place to learn that. So if you make a mistake, just throw it away or learn from it. But if you can't cook after uni, I think you have missed out on some very crucial personal development. Every Lidl or Aldi strategically places themselves within these university towns. There's a Lidl right outside my student accommodation. They know that students prefer Lidl because of how cheap it is compared to Tesco or Sainsbury's. The Lidls, the Audis, they're there. They're affordable. If you can't afford meat, that's fine. Get protein powder. There are cheaper options, and that's okay if you can't afford them. But you can still make very nice meals which are cost effective. So just make sure you come out of university with that skill. Here's my fourth tip, which is the academic one. It's such a simple tip. I can't believe people don't do this. When you have an exam on a module, use every single resource that you have available to you. If you don't have the time, which I didn't for my last exam, at the very least, go through every single past paper mark scheme, go through every tutorial mark scheme, and at least learn how to do those questions through the mark scheme, because the tutorials are different every single year. These are made every single year, and they're made based off what the exam paper might look like. If you go into an exam and you haven't been through every single past paper, at least looking through the mark scheme, you haven't been through every single practice question, at least looking through the mark scheme, that's very stupid because you have weeks to prepare. I get there's a lot of content, but it's so easy to look at mark schemes. Exams usually are very similar to previous exams. So if you haven't gone through the efforts for 5 minutes just to look through a paper's mark scheme, if you don't have the time to spend 2 hours on it, you're doing yourself a disservice. I remember I went into an exam and one of my friends said he hadn't done the tutorial questions or hadn't done the exam paper questions. I was just thinking, how do you want to get a first when you can't spend an hour going through all the mark schemes, when papers are often similar to the previous year's papers, or at least similar to this year's tutorials? I think almost every single exam I've done, there's at least been one question in the paper which is similar to either a previous question that's been asked or a question in the tutorials. Your exam is not going to be 100% based off these, but there's going to be at least one question which is the same because there's such a limited range of the potential questions that they could ask. And very often, papers follow the same structure. So just do all the exam papers, at least look at them and their mark scheme, and look at all the questions and resources they have available. Because compared to A levels, there's hardly any practice papers. With uni, there's like 3 papers max, 3 tutorial question sheets, which are like 4 or 5 questions, and then maybe weekly quizzes. There's not many resources, so at least exhaust all of them. And then my final tip, which is kind of a niche tip, it's more of a tip that I'm giving to my previous self. Uni is a place to make new friends. That sounds really dumb, but growing up, I had the same friends from age 10 to 18, and I kind of thought that these were all the friends that I needed in my life. You might have the best friends at school, and you might, but there's no harm in making any more, right? I went into uni thinking for me, a friend is someone that I'm locked in with all the time. Like, they know me, I know them really well. But that's asking a lot of friends. Like, that's putting a lot of pressure on your friends. It took me a while to realize that you can just have friends who you just see and you just say, hey, what's up? Like, you catch up a little bit, and that's the extent of your friendship. Like, you can have varying levels of what a friend means. I always thought a friend was a person that you're locked in with 100%, but a friend can just be someone that you play a sport with, and that's it. I put a lot of pressure on what I thought a friend was, and I think that's unfair on my current friends and unfair on myself, because my best friend in uni, he lives in a completely different city that's a few hours away from me, and I probably won't see him that often after university. So my younger self would have thought, what's the point in being friends if after university we're hardly going to see each other? But then that would rob me of the 3 years that I've had with him and the 3 years of amazing experiences. I'm so happy that I met him because he's been such a great impact on my life. But I'm not going to see him like that much anymore. I might see him like once or twice a year from now on. But I'd rather have had those 3 amazing years and now only see him once or twice for the rest of my life than, have never met him because, oh, well, I'm hardly going to see him after uni. So my tip would be don't limit what a friend means because I think I put a lot of expectations on what a friend is and thought that I didn't really need to prioritize making friends in uni because I already had the perfect friend group at home. But that puts a lot of pressure on your existing friend group and it really wastes a lot of what uni is about, which is meeting new people and creating new folds to yourself, meeting people that you otherwise wouldn't in your small city or town or wherever you're from. So I would just say make friends. Don't worry too much if you make friends and realize that they're not that great. The unis that you go to, there's probably like thousands of people and probably so many people that are thinking the same thing as you, which is, I wish someone would just say hello to me. I wish someone would just say something to me. That's how I felt a lot. And that's how my best friend, who I was talking about earlier, felt. And then thankfully, I said something to him because it had been months where I hadn't spoken to someone and I just needed to make a new friend. And then we became best friends after that, had a great university experience. Don't be scared about making friends. Like, what's the worst that can happen? You talk to someone and it's a bit awkward. You probably won't see them again after university. So just enjoy the time that you do have at university. So that would be my tip. Just don't limit yourself on what a friend is. Don't be scared of saying hello to someone if you're lonely because university can be a very lonely experience. And be completely fine with the fact that you're going to have some great friends in university and then after university you just might not see them again. You might find someone really amazing who's an international student, but because they're international you might not see them again. Well, they might be a friend who you don't see for a long time, but when you go to their country, you're going to have an amazing experience because you're going to have someone who knows the country and someone that you're a friend with. So don't limit who a friend can be. A friend can be someone who you only know for a week, say if you go to a camp or something, for a year, 3 years. Friendships don't ever last forever. So don't limit what a friend can be. That would be my final tip because university, there's just so many lonely people that it's pretty easy to make friends. It's just limitations that we put on ourselves.